Welcome to Let's Talk About It. I'm Sheena.
And I'm Tamara.
Okay, so what are we talking about today, Tamara?
Today we're talking about the big O. More specifically, we're talking about orgasms and the question of how do you know if you're having an orgasm?
Well, this is a good question. Are there women out there who don't know?
Apparently, 32% of women don't know if they're having an orgasm.
Interesting. Alright, so I take it you've done some scientific research.
I don't know about scientific, but I've read up on the topic.
Okay, so tell us, how do we know if we're having orgasms?
Well, the biggest advice out there is that if you're having one, you'll know you're having one.
Oh, that's so unhelpful. What else have you got for us?
No, that is the most unhelpful piece of information ever, because if you knew if you're having one, you wouldn't be asking the question.
Indeed.
Okay, so the problem is that every woman experiences an orgasm differently.
Really?
Yes, it doesn't always feel the same to everyone. Orgasms also have different levels of magnitude. They're not always the same size, they don't necessarily always feel the same. Sometimes they feel disappointing.
Okay.
Sometimes they're huge and you're left not being able to walk. That's a huge spectrum. So if you have never experienced, oh my god, I can't walk orgasm, and you've just had those small, disappointing ones, you actually may not know that you've ever had an orgasm.
Interesting.
And with men, most times when men orgasm, they ejaculate. Not always, but generally an orgasm comes with ejaculation.
Wait, hang on. Men can orgasm without ejaculating?
Apparently. Not my area of expertise. Zero expertise, but according
I learned
to
something new today.
my reading, that's true. Because of that,
It's pretty obvious.
it's pretty obvious if you've come. With women, there isn't that telltale sign.
Interesting. And so if you're having a really good time and it all feels nice and then you have a very small little orgasm, it can be sort of unrecognizable and
Yes.
clear. Interesting. All right, so how does one actually tell?
Okay, so we need to come back round to what is an orgasm.
Okay.
So when a woman becomes aroused, your body is going to undergo changes.
Okay.
Your nipples are going to become hard generally.
Okay.
Even if you don't have very responsive nipples, they generally do. Your vagina, labia, clitoris, everything's going to become engorged as blood rushes to the area.
Okay.
You're going to feel wetness.
Okay.
So that's all signs that you're aroused.
Okay. So your body is lubricating for penetration.
And if you aren't at the arousal stage, you're not going to orgasm. So let's start off right there. So
Okay, so you can't, it's not possible to orgasm without arousal.
no.
All right.
Okay. So like an orgasm is almost a crux point. A perfect storm of all these things happening, and it's a breaking point. So if you don't have that build up, you're not going to orgasm. So if you've just met someone and you get into bed or up against a bar, or you do you, and you've commenced with sex and you don't come, that's because you're actually not necessarily aroused. You need to be aroused to get to orgasm point.
Okay, so then what happens? Now you're all aroused, and now what?
Okay. As you go through sex, your body starts to build up and your muscles are going to start to contract.
Okay.
Now, when the muscles start to contract and spasm, that is the orgasm.
So an orgasm is a muscle spasm.
It's many muscle spasms.
It's many muscle spasms.
Yes, I mean it's uncontrollable. If you can still control it, you're probably not having an orgasm. It's probably you need to change position or something. But it's going to be a huge contraction throughout your body, and it's going to start down in your vagina. You're going to feel it in your uterus. You're going to probably feel it, and because of that, you're going to feel it sort of build up your body, sort of starting generally from either inside your vagina if it started with like a vaginal orgasm, or from your clitoris if it's a clitoral orgasm, and it's going to kind of spread throughout your body. Your legs will stiffen, your toes will probably stiffen, so toe curling sex is actually a real thing.
Interesting.
Your body spasms, and that is the actual orgasm.
Okay, so how do you know? It's uncontrollable.
It's uncontrollable. The problem is if you're having a big one that's big enough to do the whole toe curling thing, you kind of know you've had an orgasm. The problem comes in when it's such a small orgasm that, it's like a pinprick of sensation and then it's gone.
Does that count as an orgasm?
Yes, it's just a teeny tiny one. And some people actually describe an orgasm as a sneeze. So that sensation when you're about to sneeze, there's a build up
Yeah.
and then there's a release. That sort of build up release is what they describe as an orgasm. However, sometimes a sneeze builds up and then it disappears. That's a non-orgasm and you just haven't, tipped the threshold.
Interesting. So this would explain why lesbian fiction authors describe orgasms in all sorts of ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's different for everybody.
Exactly. So, like, if for one woman, she feels it in a certain way, she's probably going to write it in that way because that's her experience.
Indeed.
Whereas another woman will describe it differently from her.
So if you are one of these women that has the very small orgasms, how do you know you've had an orgasm?
I think the solution here is to go DIY.
Okay.
Okay. So you need to start, if you're not already, masturbating.
Okay.
And you need to learn what an orgasm feels like for you in almost scientific situation. So you're taking everything out of it. You're fully in control. You touch yourself the way that you know you like to be touched and aroused until you get to the point that you're orgasming. And that will let you, firstly, figure out if you're actually orgasming. And if you're not, get you to the point where you are. And it will also allow you to feel different magnitudes of orgasm so that you know what it feels like in different situations.
Are women physically all capable of having an orgasm?
I think this is one of those scientific debates thing where all women should be capable of orgasm, but I think there are women that probably are not physically capable of orgasm because of the way their bodies are built.
Interesting.
But most women should be able to have an orgasm. But what people need to also realize is that orgasming can also be a mental state. You have to be present, you have to be into the sex that you're having, not just your body but your mind as well. And people speak a lot about women not being into the same kind of porn or erotica as men. Because it's more of an emotional thing. And it's not necessarily that it's emotional, but I think the mind comes into sex a lot.
It does, because if you feel like you're doing something wrong when you masturbate, it's going to be really difficult for you to reach orgasm because it's supposed to be a pleasure thing.
Yes. Do you know, a lot of women have really bad conditioning when it comes to sex.
It's true.
Sex is bad, you're a slut, you're a whore.
You're
whatever.
Not supposed to enjoy sex.
It's unclean, you can't touch yourself, and none of it's true. And when you throw being a lesbian into it, it becomes even harder because then there's all the baggage of how horrid it is to be a lesbian.
It's delightful to be a lesbian. It's delightful to have lesbian sex. If you are one of those people who has negative connotations around sex, I suggest you seek out a professional.
A therapist.
Go talk to a therapist.
Maybe even a sex therapist, if they have one near you.
Indeed. Because sometimes just talking through stuff will give you a different perspective on it, hey?
And because of that, you might feel aroused while you're having sex, but your mind might just never let you get to the point of actually enjoying it so that you are unstressed enough to actually let go. And
well, that's the thing, you have to be able to just let go in order to have an orgasm.
Yeah. And then something else that just comes to mind is also the role of media in orgasms and how women view orgasms.
Okay.
So TV shows, movies, even books, they make orgasms seem super easy.
Okay.
They make sex seem super easy. And it isn't really, especially not for women. It isn't a case of meeting someone for the first time, having sex in a shower, and you both orgasming at the same time.
That's definitely a myth. The orgasm at the same time, even in heterosexual couples, is very rare. Generally, it's one and then the other. It's not.
But even apart from the orgasms, like at the same time, if you're having sex for the first time with a person, it's very unlikely that you're going to have an orgasm. Especially if you've just met and there's no emotional bond or connection there. So don't.
It also takes learning each other's bodies, because what works for one person doesn't always work for the other person. Sometimes somebody likes a little anal play, sometimes somebody doesn't. You know what I mean? It all depends entirely on you as an individual. So this is where masturbation comes in again. If you understand your body and how your body works, you can direct your lover in the right way.
And in terms of masturbation, start with what feels comfortable for you. You don't have to go in it with toys, or if you do want to go in with toys, go in with toys. But start where you're comfortable. It's just you.
There's a range of also toys that you can get. You can get clitoral stimulators that doesn't require penetration if penetration is an issue for you.
And most orgasms are clitoral, so don't feel like you need to be penetrated to have an orgasm, or that it's going to be easier to orgasm that way.
It's actually not easier.
So I mean, nowadays sex toys aren't limited to dildos or vibrators. You get ones that stimulate cunnilingus. You get ones that allow you to simulate.
Are you saying they're ones that simulate oral sex? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So basically, you're having an orgasm when you have an orgasm.
Sorry.
You should practice on yourself, by yourself, to understand how your body works and what an orgasm feels like for you. And don't expect earth-shattering, mind-numbing, leg-curling orgasms all the time. It's not going to happen.
You're going to know when it happens, but if you feel any kind of clenching that you can't control or spasms, even if it's just at the source of the orgasm, like on your clit or inside your vagina, there probably is the orgasm.
The good news here is that practice makes perfect.
So go practice. We'll leave you alone.
If you enjoyed this podcast, you can find more of this and other ones on the Lesbian Talk Show. All you need to do is search for the Lesbian Talk Show on iTunes, Podbean, or Stitcher.
You can also find the channel on YouTube. The link will be in the show notes.
And come and talk to us on Facebook at the Lesbian Talk Show chat group. I'm Sheena.
And I'm Tamara.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Happy orgasms.
I think we should go practice what we preach. You realize they can't see you rolling your eyes.
I know, it's just like...
And I always sound like a race car announcer when I'm first starting out.
And you're listening to Let's Talk About It.
I already said that.
Did you?
That's why I sound like a race car announcer, because I said, welcome to Let's Talk About It, I'm Sheena.
Oh.
Yes.
Oops.
See how you pay attention to me after all these years of marriage.
Today we're talking about the big O.
Orange juice.
Ew, no.
I love orange juice.
I hate orange juice.
I know, it's one of the many things that makes our life diverse and interesting. Trying to balance the orange juice versus no orange juice debate.
Okay, well, more specifically, we're talking about orgasms.
Ooh, I like those even better than orange juice.